Hi everyone, this is Main Street Tweeter here. Some of you know me by my name of Pat Cook. I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to talk about something that's something that I think could work, that many people seem to disagree with. The Republicans, as it is, of course, a secret to nobody, wants to try to gerrymander the election process. I'm making this video to inform you, to state that this is something which could work to the advantage of Democrats or progressives in general, but not to as well. Think of it this way. Ever heard of the old wise saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander? Well, that same principle holds true. As what's good for the goose is good for the gander, in this case. By that I mean, if the Republicans want to take solid red states and rig it, whereas the election returns are like golf, whereas you basically have to, it's basically like winning a golf match, then I say the best way we can fight it is to, simply put, help them dig their own grave. How? Simple. Simple, actually. Take solid blue states and do the same exact thing that they're wanting to do. That they're doing in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and in a couple other places. Take Colorado, for instance. Colorado has a democratically controlled Senate, House, and, of course, the governor's mansion. But don't stop there. The majority of the state's delegates on the congressional side are also Democrats. But let's not stop there. Let's go. Republicans seem to be settling for state level positions. I think we should go lower than that. We're talking city council. We are talking city council, town council in the case of small rural towns, county commissioners, mayors, and many, many other positions. The smaller positions. Even dog catcher. I mean, think about it. These Republicans, they want, they are of their way of thinking is all politics is local. Well, you know what? Let's make it. Well, you know what? That's the new way of doing things. So let's accommodate them. Let's make politics local all the way by making it all the way down to dog catcher. All the way down to dog catcher. Anybody, in fact, anybody who holds any elected office, anybody whose office is elected, where they basically have to run for public office, campaign for public office, and get elected, they are fair game. They are fair game to the gerrymandering process. Because if you think for 1 second the Republicans are going to stop with just the state lawmakers, you better think again. They're going to find, as more and more states are rigged their way, they're going to be looking for ways to go deeper than that. To dig deeper than that. We've got to get ahead of them. And the best way we can get ahead of them is to beat them at their own game. Because, let's face it, they're not playing very well. They're not playing very well. Look at how they handled the female vote in last year's election. Look at how they handled that. They bungled it with all these measurements to force women to undergo transvaginal probes and ultrasounds and things of that nature just to get an abortion. They bungled it, the female vote. And then, on top of that, they're not willing to accept the fact that personhood is not wanted or welcome in America. It failed in Mississippi. It's about as far south in terms of state that you can possibly get. The southernmost part of the country that you can possibly get without winding up in the Gulf of Mexico. And it failed. It failed. And yet they seemingly think that it still has life. The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, Republicans will never get the idea that America does not want their agenda, has no interest in their agenda, and therefore, as such, we need to get used to the fact that Republicans aren't the reason why Republicans aren't gerrymandering we need to get used to the fact that Republicans are not interested in representing people made of flesh and blood. Though they need the votes of the flesh and blood people to get elected. Why? Because that's the way the law spells it out. But by gerrymandering the election, or so they think anyway, in their twisted, perverted theory anyway, they seemingly think that, well, by rigging the election, that somehow only people made of brick, glass, mortar, and steel will get elected. Will get representation. They may need somebody from made of flesh and blood to represent them, and to actually hold the office. But those people will, those people will represent the corporate interests. Yeah, I mean, after all, Mitt Romney said it himself. Corporations are people too. But corporations can't vote. And they know that. So since they know that they will not get the popular vote from Main Street America, they're trying to rig the election, whereas it's irrelevant as to how the flesh and blood people vote. It is absolutely irrelevant. And that's the one thing, because in their world, because like I said, before the phone got to ringing, they're not after our vote. They don't care about us. They're not after our vote. They're not out there representing us. They're out there representing corporations, which, as Mitt Romney said, under the law, are considered people too. Basically, anybody who is considered a person under Citizens United. Problem. People under Citizens United are not allowed to vote. People, as defined by Citizens United, are not allowed to vote. People under the Constitution are allowed to vote. But see, and the Republicans really want to change that. So as we're not standing out there in the cold, they've found that they can't suppress the vote because we'll fight back against that. So they're now trying to render our vote irrelevant. They seem to think that they won't be digging their grave doing that. Oh, to that I say, they are sadly mistaken. Because if they want to change the vote, whereas people Because if they want to change the vote where the fewest amount of electoral votes wins the election, well then, I say, pass me pass me a shovel or a pitchfork. And I don't mean that in the sense that they hook. And when I say that, I don't mean that in the sense of them, of helping them dig my grave, the grave of the Democrats. I say that in the sense of helping them dig their grave. Because they're the ones who are going to suffer the most. Not me. Not the Democrats. In fact, if anything, by doing it this way, it'll just make, in fact, by engaging in the gerrymandering process with the Republicans, if anything, it will make getting a Democrat elected even easier. Because there will be fewer votes required to win the White House on election night. Because when you tally up the total amount of votes available in the Electoral College, all that's needed, all one needs to do is take the lesser number and say that's the total that is needed to win. Not the higher number, the lower number. The lower number, not the higher number, as was the case the last time, and every election since then, but the lower number. And hey, and if a Republican gets elected, well, hey, a Republican gets elected. If a Republican president wins the popular vote as well, then hey, a Republican wins the popular vote. That's democracy. It's democracy. Those of us who vote Democrat, we don't have to like it, but it's democracy. It's democracy in action. That's the way it is. So, yeah. I think when it comes to gerrymandering the election, let's not fight them on this. But if anything, let's help them. Help them by taking solid blue states and doing exactly what they want to do. What they're doing with solid red states. Because we all know there's not going to be a Republican representing Los Angeles County in California. We know there's not going to be a Republican representing San Francisco in Congress. And it's extremely doubtful there will be a Republican representing the city of New York in Congress. extremely unlikely. Not with as many people as there is in places like Harlem and Brooklyn and many other places in New York. Extremely unlikely. And it's also extremely unlikely there will be a Republican representing Chicago proper as well. I think that goes without saying. But the Republicans, they've given up on the urban vote, which is why they're going through this process. But they're finding out that suburban Main Street America is also fighting back. And eventually, and the more and more they try to change. I say all of this because eventually, sooner or later, no matter what it is that they try to do, whether it is gerrymandering the election or suppressing the vote or whatever their next trick is, trick up their sleeve is, sooner or later they're going to have to. There's going to be some Republicans. In fact, there's already a few beginning to pop up who are saying, "Hey, look, guys. Hey, look, peoples. The bag of tricks that you guys are using is not the problem with our ability to identify with Main Street America. What is the problem are our policies, which is why you have people like Chris Christie coming out and blasting Congress. As he awaits funds for the big superstorm to hit New Jersey. Chris Christie, he may be a little off, but he's not a completely stupid man. And I think he's beginning to see that his party doesn't reflect his views. Anyway, we'll have more. Anyway, that's all I wanted to comment now. And I will catch you a little bit later. I'll post this to Facebook, YouTube, Google Plus, and other places. This is Pat Cook, the Main Street tweeter and the Main Street Lifecaster, saying so long.